Okay, Florida man, returning to you after a video that ended with the word I was talking about Joe Biden and how he's a hair sniffer, and finally the New York Times covered his accuser, and congrats to them for actually being the first mainstream media outlet to cover his accuser, who accused him of well, let's quite frankly, it's more credible accusation than all the accusations against Brett Kavanaugh, Supreme Court Justice, and Donald Trump put together. Uh, Save for maybe the Stormy Daniels situation, where apparently Donald Trump did it the old-fashioned way and paid for it. Uh, his wife had just given birth and might have not been available for sex, and so he paid for some from a porn star. Boy, it's just terrible. That's a terrible thing. However, it pales in comparison to the evil that is sexual assault. And that is what Joe Biden has been accused of. And she worked for him. And she told people at the time what had happened. None of the accusers against Brett Kavanaugh or Trump did that. We can't even prove that they were ever in the same room. So, and all of Trump's accusations, besides Stormy, came a week before the November 2016 election. So, all politically motivated, as were Brett Kavanaugh's accusations. And not supported by any evidence. They were political stunts. But anyway, let's dive into the New York Times article. They state that Joe has no history of sexual misconduct, besides the long list of females who have complained that his touching, hugging, and sniffing made them feel uncomfortable. And once again, this is females of all ages, even little girls. It's like saying Jeffrey Dahmer had no history of homicide, besides the numerous bodies that disappeared, and body parts were found in his residence. It's ridiculous. The New York Times, and then they spend a paragraph and a half talking about Donald Trump's accusations. The New York Times is a rag. Even worse lately is the USA Today. They keep on repeating Chinese propaganda, and are in support of the World Health Organization, which is owned by China. And they'll take news releases from the Chinese Navy, most recently, from the Chinese Communist government, and they'll just copy and paste it as an article. That's supposed to be truthful. Hey, so USA Today, God, it might even be worse than the New York Times. So my point is, number one, Joe Biden is a horrible human being. I've stated that before. Number two, many Democrats are uncomfortable having a senile, corrupt, because he used his office to enrich his family, which is the main thing we need to change about American politics. Young people want us to go socialist, which is ridiculous. Capitalism and the Constitution is what have made this nation great. And what we need to get rid of is the corruption in Washington. And Joe Biden is a great example of it. And he waited many years, though. He basically waited till he was a senior senator and vice president to start going corrupt. Probably thought he was entitled. Probably thought, I've served all these years. I see all these other politicians making money. And what's so perverse is that if they did this with American companies, it's illegal. But if they go overseas and get money from overseas companies, it's perfectly legal. And then you have a conflict of interest. Then you have China controlling controlling a lot of politicians, controlling our media, obviously the USA Today, and we'll get into some other stuff in a moment here. And so the Democrats are uncomfortable having a senile, corrupt hair sniffer as their nominee, and therefore the hashtag Cuomo for president, or hashtag President Cuomo, has become very popular because he can actually string two sentences together. And has no known history of hair sniffing. But if you look at his record, he's failed to live up to any of his promises. His actions during the pandemic have been mediocre at best, and that is being generous. He is part of the reason that New York is riddled with coronavirus. And but some supporters have even started a mysterious movement called Cuomo sexuality. If you're a Cuomo sexual, I have no idea what they're going for there, but I would say that a Cuomo sexual is someone who talks a big game, but then can't perform when push comes to shove. Wink, wink, if you know what I mean. Well, Biden looks to be the nominee. He finally got Obama to endorse him, and why it took so long? It's probably because Obama was able to witness the mediocre at best politician, who Biden was, succumb to senility. And now he's not even a mediocre bingo player. Poor Biden. But he also got Bernie's endorsement. And both sides of the aisle are calling Bernie a sellout. And the rumor is that Obama gave him a call. And suddenly he sold out faster than toilet paper during a corona pandemic. I stole that joke from Chad Prather. So, that's it for this one.